Hey, this is Marlon from marlonmcpherson.com, helping you to stay creative and get more online reach. Today, I'm going to share with you a video from my free web design for beginners course. Go ahead and check out the lesson, and I hope it helps you out a ton. But if you want to take the entire course, it's available for you to enroll for free over on futurestepscreative.com. So when you first install your theme, out the box is going to look really blank. You are not going to have it looking the way that it looks in the demos. Now, this is the Divi theme that I've got installed. Assuming you've already installed it and activated it, you should have a similar homepage. If you were to load up your website, it might have some more information on here, but pretty much you're starting from scratch with a blank screen. So we obviously want to get our site customized by adding, or well, just settings wise, we want to make sure that we have things laid out in such a way that globally it looks more like what we want it to look like. So inside WordPress, there are a few different ways that you can actually customize your theme. WordPress has a default option called the customizer, and that's where pretty much all the options that WordPress gives you will be available to you to adjust things, and I'll walk you through that in just a second. The theme that you have installed may determine the number of options that you have access to changes, have access to change things in, and sometimes you may have more if it's a much more premium theme. Well, not sometimes, in most cases you're going to have more, especially if it's a paid theme. In this case, we have Divi. Divi has its own set of adjustments that you can make under the Divi option here inside the menus. Let's start off by familiarizing you with the customizer in WordPress. So you go to Appearance and Customize, and that's going to bring up the options within the theme that you have active. So as you can see, we have a few options on the left hand side here inside this menu, and I've got pretty much a blank page here. So let's go through the options and show you how you can make some changes to the overall look and feel of the site. First of all, you have the general settings, and within that you have the site identity. This is where you can actually change the title of the site, and this is what shows up inside the tabs, as well as a tagline. And you can also upload your site icon here as well by clicking the icon bit there. I don't have a particular site icon set or uploaded, but I'm going to just select my logo, and it gives you a cropping option. So I'll just crop this part of my logo there to become the site icon. So I'll go ahead and say crop, and immediately you can see inside the tab here that it's now changed it to the site icon. If we go back and go to the layout settings, we can change a few different things inside here for the page layout in terms of the size of the content area, which is where the actual information is placed on a page. We can also change the accent color, which is this color would show up in various areas of the theme on a page. If we come here back to the previous section, we have the typography. Now this is where you can select the default font size and so on of the site. So currently I don't have any text on this page that is going to show up in terms of body text, but we have a headline. So I'll show you that you can adjust the headline here as well. So as this shows you here, it says header text size. It's on 30, and we can move this slider to change the default size here. And if we want to commit to the change, we would just hit the publish button, and this would apply across the whole website. So it would be a global setting. I'm going to go ahead and reset by clicking that reset button there, and just click publish to make sure that change is saved. And then we have some other options down here. We have a default font that they set, but you can go in here and you can change it to any of the fonts that's installed with the theme. And in this case, Divi uses the Google fonts, which are free. There's also an option to upload a custom font within the page builder. Let's change the heading font, as that's the only text we've got there, and you can see that it's changed it there. And if you were to add any other heading font on your other pages, it would take it would inherit the font choice from here, just as everything else would. This would inherit the font choice that you've made here. We can also add a body link color. So this is if you put any hyperlinks. So if you were to change a line of text or a word into a link to click through to somewhere else, it would highlight it in this color blue here. And then these are the default colors for the body text. So it's a sort of a dark gray, and you can click in there as you just saw me do and change it to whatever color you wish to have as the text. Obviously, you want to make sure that it's a color that is easily readable and that it's in keeping with the look and feel that you're going for your website and your brand. As you can see, I've just changed it to a blue there for the headline, and that's changed there as well. Now, if you wanted to accept that, you would just go ahead and publish. I'm not going to do that in this case. I'm gonna if you click that X there, it will just take you back out. So what I needed to do is scroll to go back, and you can set a background color and so on, or an image. However, we don't want to do this in Divi, because when we get to the page builder, we won't be able to see any of that anyway. We want to have a plain white background in most cases, but it's there if you needed to make any changes. And as we back out of the general settings, we can also change things in the header. So for example, we can determine certain things that show up in the header, and we can determine the header style. For example, we have the logo on the left at the moment. We could choose centered, and it will center things up like that. We could also use one of these options here, which has a slide-in menu from the side, or we can go with a full screen situation where the menu would just take over the whole screen. So you have a few different options there, and this is specific to the Divi theme. So if we head into the primary menu bar here, the options will let you do a few different things. First of all, the primary menu bar is this top section here that has the logo and the menus, as well as that search icon there. We can decide to hide the logo image. You wouldn't want to necessarily do that. And you can decide to make the section there full width. Just depends on what you're going with. We can change the logo height or size here basically, and it just does it in terms of logo height. So we can just click and drag, and you can determine the maximum height for the logo. I'll just reset that, and we can decide on the text size for the menu items as well. You can decide on the letter spacing, and that's what that does. And again, you can change link colors and text color, and a few other options are there for you to experiment with. And that's it for the header section. We have the same sort of setup for the footer. You can decide what shows up in the footer area, which is down here, as well as you can customize your buttons, the standard buttons that Divi will insert, but you don't necessarily need to do that from here, because you can do that inside the page builder itself. And here is where you can look at your blog styling. So if you have a blog post or a post section, you can make some changes here to how certain things would display on your blog posts. Mobile styles, here you can make some adjustments to show what your font sizes and so on would look like on mobile and on tablet. And you can adjust certain settings inside the mobile menu, which is the hamburger menu here that shows up there. Color schemes is where you would now set the default color for the theme. So you can choose one of these colors that it gives you, and it would use that color. If you want to manage your colors from here, it's very limited. I would recommend that you do that inside the page builder. In terms of menus as well, you can create menus straight from here. So at the moment, this is just showing you all the pages that's currently set up on this site, but it's not actually organized in a menu. So we could just go here, create a menu, and decide what menu it is. Divi has 3. You have the primary menu, which is this one, and if you have a secondary bar which you can activate at the top of Divi, you would then select that one there, and then the footer menu, you can have one there as well. So we're looking at the primary menu, so we can go ahead. We need to give it a name. Let's call this main menu. And go ahead and click next. And at this point, we can click add items, and we'll be able to add any pages that we have available here, or any posts, or anything that we want to add to this menu that's already been published on the site. So in this case, we can decide to add landing, contact, about, and we'll just say publish. And as you can see, we only have those pages there available to us in that particular menu. Now, so we have the widget section. Widgets are some different items that you can place in the sidebar to show up either there or in the footer area that displays certain information. So for example, you could have your recent blog posts show up as a little widget. You could have a search widget there as well. So people could type in a search query, and it would populate and give you results from there. And you can specifically add widgets to the various sections here. The footer area has 6 different areas down here. You can't exactly see them laid out, but when you start adding things, they'll show up in these sections here if you wanted to. This is where you decide which page is going to be your home page. Currently I have it set to the about page, but we can change that. So I'm going to change it to the landing page, which is that page that's already been created. And now it changes to this page here. As you can see, all my text is blue because we changed it inside the default. We don't want that to happen, so I'll go back and reset it shortly. And then if you have blog posts, you can set your posts page. You need to create a page that is where your posts are going to display, all your posts, and then people can link out to the individual posts from that point. These 2 options here mean that you can either have a static page, which is what this is, as your home page, or you can decide to just show your latest posts, and that would display just basically based on how you publish your content. So when you publish a post, it will just show up in here. For most cases, you're not going to want to do that. You want to have your website as a static, your homepage as a static page, and have your posts page separately, so anyone that wants to see your blog can navigate to there. So that's pretty much what that does. And here is for additional code to be added, and this is where basically you can do customizations beyond just the visual options that we have available to us here. So if you have some code that you want to add, you can. We're going to build this out without necessarily having to know code, but sometimes if you are past a piece of code that can do something, then this is where you would put it. For example, this code here I've added, which helps the logo to display correctly on certain browsers. Sometimes it looks a little bit jagged, and it's nothing to do with the file itself, but it's just to do with the way that certain browsers display. For example, Chrome displays it without this code here with a bit of some rough edges, and this just smooths things out. That's all you need to know, really. If you wanted to go into look at CSS, you can research that. It means cascading style sheets, and this is where you can add custom styling beyond what your theme provides to you, and that's a little bit more advanced, like I've said. So I've gone ahead and reset all the settings that I've changed to make things look back to the way it was originally. And as you can see, my layout looks as it should. And I'm going to go ahead and exit from here. But it's warning me, it's telling me here there's some changes that I've made. Excuse me. There's some changes that I've made that will be lost unless I save it. And it's saying, do I want to continue? I want to cancel that. Let's make sure I hit the publish button there. Otherwise, you have to go back over everything that you've done. So we'll just go ahead and now click the X in the top left, and that takes us back out of the customizer. Now, Divi itself comes with a few different options. So you'll find the Divi menu item here, and that's where you can access all the specific options that they provide. So if you come in here and go to the theme options, which is the first item, it brings you to the defaults that Divi can set beyond the customizer. For example, you can add your logo here, and you would just click that and load your logo from the library. Unless you haven't uploaded it yet, then you can go ahead and do that. You can set your color palette. So this is great for you if you have a brand color palette. You would actually set the color palettes here so that when you are actually building out your pages and you go to change a color, you'd only see the color palette that you've decided on beforehand. So it saves you having to go and remember each code. So what you can do is click inside the box here, and if you have a color code from a color picker, you can just enter it there. So then that's already been saved and it will change it to whatever. So obviously you can see here, I can swipe around, or you can type the specific color, in this case gray. All right, all C's there. Now I don't want to necessarily do that, so I'll leave that alone. You have a multitude of options in here. You can switch on your social media icons as well, which will show up in the footer area, and you can you can place the links here as well for them, so that when someone clicks through, they go through to the right section. And you also have custom CSS here as well. This is just reflecting what already shows up inside the customizer. You have some navigation settings here as well, and this is specific to do with the Divi builder. It's showing you where you can use the Divi builder, which we'll get into in a future lesson. And then you can decide on how certain things look on the page layouts, what items actually show up. You have some options for advanced users if you want to add ads. Here you can add some SEO type of information, which is for search engine optimizations. And this is for if you're adding any sort of special code for Google in terms of the Google Search Console or Google Analytics, for example. And here is where you can actually update or add your license key for Divi if you have a license key to do automatic updates. I'm not going to go into all the other options. There are some more advanced options that Divi has, and this is beyond the scope of this video, so we're not going to go into those, but just know that there are a few different options you can have there as well. So that wraps up the demonstration of how you can access the customization options inside your WordPress Customizer first of all, and inside specifically the Divi theme. And that's a wrap. There you have it. That's the lesson there from the course. Again, if you want to take it, go ahead and enroll on futurestepscreative.com. In the meantime, I will catch you in the next video.